Coffee is a significant part of culture and lifestyle in Korea today. Considering its short history, this is an amazing feat that no other so-called Western influence has achieved. In this video, we will cover 4 stages of coffee that flowed alongside socio-economic transitions in Korea. Coffee began as a diplomatic tool, spread to become a popular subsistence, transformed into brief break-time snacks. Today, it is a social marker of style and elegance. Coffee is largely shaped and has been shaped by the turbulent changes of 20th century Korea. At the time coffee was introduced in the late 19th century, a representative substitute beverage was tea. Interestingly, neither tea nor coffee were indigenous to Korea. Both symbolized looming foreign influence over the government. Tea was originated from China alongside Buddhism in the 7th century. The nobility and royal families had adopted this culture readily as a communicative method in diplomatic affairs. It was a strategic move considering the overwhelming sinocentrism that persisted up until the modern ages. As time passed, tea culture had eventually spread throughout the populace in different varieties. An analogous story was replayed in the late 19th century when Western powers including France, England, USA began to interact with Korea. The upper classes once again accepted coffee as a diplomatic strategy. Emperor Gojong, ruler between 1863 and 1897, built the first Western coffee terrace inside the palace, where he enjoyed fine brewed coffee with music, sometimes with government officials. His efforts firmly rerouted the direction of diplomacy. It was no longer sinocentrism or tea that Korea was pursuing. It was westernization and the West's amazing modern inventions and feats, symbolized by coffee. Upon emancipation from Japanese colonial rule in 1945, it was agreed that American troops should maintain presence in South Korea. Shipments of clothing, food from America arrived monthly to these military camps, and many of these items were smuggled out to the poor, starving people on the streets. To the poor in post-war Korea, American ration products were the best humanitarian aid they could get. American chocolate, biscuits, flour were soon widely known and very popular. Instant coffee, which came in cans, also became a national beverage, beloved for its new taste and cheap availability. Soon the middle class and upper classes were also frequently drinking coffee in cafes called dabang. Among many others, intellectuals were constant customers. They went to contemplate in their philosophic words. Dabangs were symbolic of coffee houses in England that developed to facilitate discussion. Only clients in dabangs had much less political significance. Dabangs instead were focal points of Korean literature of the time. Potential writers and poets would polish their works while sitting for hours at these Korean coffee houses. Lee Sang, Kim Hyun-sung, and Lee Hyo-seok are only a few of the major literary figures who frequented dabangs at the time.
In the 1970s, Dictator Park Chung-hee initiated radical economic revolutions with his 5-year economic development plans, making it a national mission to work hard in a more competitive environment in order to achieve incredible economic success. GDP multiplied by 20 folds within 18 years of this system. Radical changes didn't stop in the economic sectors. Lifestyles changed. People didn't have leisure to relax or to take long breaks. This was when vending machines were first introduced to shorten break periods. Canned coffee from these machines allowed people to have a quick sip before returning to work. Instant coffees were then reinforced by the mass media, films, and TV programs that linked canned and instant coffees with romance, sentimentality, making it an attractive commodity for people. On the brink of the 21st century, an emphasis to a well-being life had resurfaced. People began to pursue slower-paced lives, no longer so focused on increasing quantity of production. Right on cue, foreign coffee chains introduced roasted coffee with suggestions of an elegant, Western style of relaxation. Starbucks was the first takeout coffee place to open a store in Korea. Its strategy, later emulated by subsequent coffee brands, was to target college students, especially young females, who were sensitive to trends. Through extensive marketing starring popular female actresses, coffee brands such as Starbucks and Coffee Bean linked an image of trendiness, chic, independence, metropolitan elegance to their coffees, attracting young generations. They then expanded by simultaneously opening many stores at major locations of cities where people would meet up. Equipped with extensive meeting spaces, located at the foci of transportation, coffee shops soon became the ideal place to meet people. This convenience drove older generations to cafes and made them constant customers at cafes as well. In response to foreign brand coffee shops, many Korean corporations have branched out to the coffee market. Currently, there are over 15,000 cafes that specialize in roasted coffee, and the number is increasing along with consumer demand. Taking out roasted coffee is now a daily activity for a majority of the population. Coffee is a commodity that dynamically reflects the socio-economic transformations that Korea has undergone during the past century. Meaning of coffee in Korea ranges from diplomacy, to subsistence, to literature, to social gatherings, all very different from its roles anywhere else in the world.